Welcome to this film recap of the 2018 thriller, Red Sparrow. Join us as we dive into the captivating world of espionage and deception, following the journey of Dominika Egorova, a former ballerina turned Sparrow who is tasked with using her body and mind as a weapon to gather intelligence for the Russian government. From twists and turns to heart-pounding action and seductive suspense, Red Sparrow will keep you on the edge of your seat. Let's get started. The story commences by alternating between the lives of our two main protagonists in Russia. Dominika Egorova, a renowned ballerina, is responsible for looking after her ailing mother. After a doctor's appointment, she arranges for a caretaker to watch over her mother while she goes to work. At the theater, Dominika gets dressed and applies makeup before greeting the audience members, including her uncle, Ivan Egorov, the deputy director of the Russian Secret Service. He introduces her to Dmitry Ustinov, a Russian gangster who requests a photo and seizes the opportunity to touch her inappropriately. Shortly after, the performance begins, and Dominika dances beautifully until her partner suddenly leaps onto her leg, breaking it. She is immediately rushed to undergo surgery. Meanwhile, Nate Nash, a CIA agent, receives a phone call from an automated system that provides him with a series of words. He deciphers these words to determine the location of a secret rendezvous and arms himself before departing. The meeting point is a park at nighttime, and as he arrives, he notices a car tailing him. A mysterious individual, codenamed Marble, approaches him, and they exchange items as they pass by each other on the road. With the car still in pursuit, Nate fires a shot at the ground, creating a diversion to allow Marble to escape. He sprints away, ultimately finding himself surrounded by the police near the American embassy. Once inside, his superiors inform him that the asset is secure, but he will be sent back to the United States due to his error. The following day, Ivan visits Colonel Zakharov, the director of the Secret Service, in his office, where General Vladimir Kortnoy is also present. They show Ivan a video of Nate's park meeting and identify him as a CIA agent who left the country that morning. Their primary focus, however, is on discovering the identity of the other man. The scene shifts to Dominika, who awakens in the hospital with her leg in a metal frame and weeps upon realizing she will never dance again. 3 months elapse, and Dominika, still using a cane for support, receives a visit from Ivan. He remarks on how her replacement has already been found, and how the theater has been providing housing and covering her mother's medical expenses, all of which will soon end now that she no longer works for them. Ivan offers his assistance, and asks her to come to him when she is ready, leaving her an envelope before departing. Inside the envelope, Dominika finds photos and a recorded conversation that suggest her dance partner intentionally injured her so his girlfriend could take her place. Later that day, Dominika goes to the theater to observe her former partner and his new love interest practicing. After their session, they head to the steam room, and Dominika follows them, only to discover them engaged in an intimate encounter. Overcome with fury, Dominika uses her cane to viciously attack both of them before fleeing the scene. On her bus ride home, she notices blood on her hands and decides to disembark, stopping at a payphone to report her actions as an accident. Upon arriving at her apartment, she discovers her mother lying on the bathroom floor, the caretaker absent. Her mother explains that the caretaker stopped coming because the theater ceased paying her. Out of options, Dominika seeks assistance from her uncle. He agrees to help her, but only if she reciprocates by aiding him in a small matter. The Secret Service wants information on Ustinov, whom Dominika had previously encountered at the theater. Ivan instructs her to get close to Ustinov, befriend him, and gain his trust using her allure. Initially, Dominika refuses, but Ivan persuades her by emphasizing the dire state of public hospitals and promising the best doctors for her mother. That night, Dominika visits the hotel where Ustinov is staying, dressed in a red gown provided by her uncle. She waits at the bar for Ustinov to initiate contact, which he eventually does. Dominika informs him that she has come to feel special again, and they head to her room. She requests privacy from the guards, and Ustinov begins to undress as soon as they leave, urging Dominika to do the same. Despite her hesitation, she complies, and Ustinov wastes no time taking advantage of her. Their encounter is abruptly interrupted when a man in a black helmet appears, slitting Ustinov's throat. The man gestures for Dominika to remain silent, throws her a coat to cover her bloody body, and leads her out through a back door. In the parking lot, he shoots an employee before escaping with Dominika on a motorcycle to an abandoned building. There, the man removes his helmet, revealing himself as Sergei Maturin, another Secret Service agent sent by Ivan. In another room of the same building, Ivan and Kortnoy watch Dominika on security cameras. When Kortnoy suggests that she should be eliminated as a witness, Ivan counters that she could be valuable. Ivan goes to see Dominika and admits he knew what would happen in that room but withheld the information, knowing she would not have participated otherwise. He then proposes that she be trained as a secret agent at a specialized institution due to her aptitude. With no other choice for protection, Dominika reluctantly agrees. A few days later, Dominika departs for the training facility. Upon arrival, she is greeted by Matron, the headmistress of Sparrow School. Matron assigns Dominika a false name to use at the school and shows her to her room. Classes begin shortly thereafter, with Matron discussing the chaotic state of the modern world and Russia's unique willingness to make sacrifices for its betterment. The students are detrained as sparrows, spies who specialize in seduction and psychological manipulation. Dominika and a fellow student named Victor are called to the front of the class and instructed to undress. While Victor complies without hesitation, Dominika cannot bring herself to do so, earning Matron's disapproval. The scene shifts to Nate, who has been called before the CIA's discipline panel and informed of his suspension due to his error in Russia. Furthermore, he is prohibited from leaving the country. Nate objects, arguing that their informant, Marble, has worked with him for 3 years and will not trust anyone else, but his concerns are dismissed. Back at Sparrow School, Matron teaches a class on identifying targets' desires. She plays several videos as examples for the students to analyze. After Victor incorrectly guesses the first video, Dominika corrects him, causing him to resent her. Another female student successfully guesses the second video but struggles to complete the assigned task that follows, breaking down in tears. Matron reminds the students of the importance of mastering their bodies and demonstrates basic seduction techniques. In the United States, Nate notices he is being followed and reports this to his superiors. As the CIA has lost contact with Marble, Nate seizes the opportunity to remind them that Marble will only communicate with him. They strike a compromise. Nate cannot return to Russia, but they will send him to a nearby country, allowing the Russian Secret Service to be aware of his presence and prompting Marble to resurface. Nate agrees, and his team accompanies him. At the school, the students are instructed to welcome a group of soldiers returning from war. Dominika selects a young man and brings him to her room, where she successfully pleases him. Later, Matron and the students review footage of their encounters with the soldiers. Matron commends Dominika's technique, but notes that she has yet to fully surrender herself. After class, Dominika heads to the showers, where Victor assaults her. She defends herself by removing a water tap from the wall and striking him with it. Meanwhile, Ivan, Kortnoy, and Zakharov discuss Nate's relocation to Budapest. They desire to take action, but they are aware that the president does not want them to appear hostile towards the United States. Ivan suggests assigning the mission to someone else. Back at Sparrow School, Matron and the newly arrived Kortnoy question Dominika about her attack on Victor. Matron believes Dominika has potential, and Kortnoy requests a private conversation with her. Once alone, he questions Dominika further, and she states that her loyalty lies with the state, not her classmate. She is permitted to return to class, where Matron calls her to the front once more while Kortnoy observes via security camera. Dominika is shown a picture of Victor and is asked to identify his desires as he enters the room. Matron orders her to satisfy his desires. Victor instructs Dominika to turn around, but she refuses and takes control of the situation. As she undresses, she demands Victor's full attention, and once completely naked, she provocatively invites him to take her. Unable to perform, Victor flees in humiliation as Dominika taunts him. She then answers Matron's question. Victor craves power. Kortnoy is impressed. Shortly thereafter, Matron privately informs Dominika that she will be sent back to Moscow. Upon reuniting with her mother at their home several days later, Dominika receives a phone call instructing her to meet Ivan at a restaurant. Once there, Ivan explains her next assignment. She is to be sent to Budapest to befriend Nate and gain his trust in order to uncover the identity of their mole. He provides her with a new passport and documents bearing a false name. Dominika departs without eating. Arriving in Budapest a few days later, Dominika moves into an apartment she will share with fellow Sparrow Marta. Later that day, she meets her new boss, Station Chief Maxim Volantov, and requests information on Nate. After studying Nate's routine, Dominika begins frequenting the same swimming pool as him, allowing him to approach her as they exit the building. They engage in small talk, but Dominika remains elusive, inventing a story about working as a translator for the embassy. The next day, Dominika is surprised to find Nate absent from the pool and learns from the receptionist that her ID has gone missing. It turns out Nate already knows she isn't who she claims to be. In a separate scene, Nate explains to his superiors that she has been using multiple names and connects her to Ivan. He believes she is valuable and that her use of her real name is a deliberate provocation. After some hesitation, his superiors allow him to get closer to her for intelligence gathering. Dominika visits Volontov to report her progress and request an embassy pass. At the embassy, she observes Marta conversing with Stephanie Butcher, an American politician. Nate interrupts her observation to talk, admitting he stole her ID from the pool and inviting her to dinner the following evening at 8. Dominika agrees before departing. Back at her apartment, she searches Marta's room and finds out Marta has been purchasing intelligence from Butcher. Marta returns but doesn't catch Dominika in the act. She hands Dominika a copy of the report Volontov sent to Moscow, revealing that Dominika has made an enemy. The next day, after work, Dominika confronts Volontov in a bar and demands he write a better report, then provokes him into assaulting her. With the incident captured on security cameras, Dominika threatens to take the footage to the police unless he complies. Meanwhile, Nate waits alone at the restaurant, believing he has been stood up. As he leaves, Dominika secretly follows him. Back at his apartment, Nate receives a coded message over the phone that he quickly deciphers, reading Vienna. As he prepares to leave, a distraught Dominika arrives at his door, and he lets her in. Sharing some whiskey, Dominika tells Nate that her boss attacked her. When he questions how she knows where he lives, she turns up the TV volume to prevent eavesdropping. Dominika inquires about the incident in Russia, and after he tells her, they share a kiss. Nate advises her to go home and figure out what she wants. The following day, Ivan visits Dominika before leaving for Vienna. He inquires about her progress with Nate, as their superiors are growing impatient. In an attempt to buy time, she fabricates a story about working with Marta on the Butcher case and requests additional funds. Ivan agrees and asks for his coat before departing. As Dominika retrieves it, she covertly glances at his passport. After Ivan leaves, Marta confronts Dominika with a gun, having overheard her lie, and being upset that the Butcher case was meant to be hers alone. Dominika promises to give Marta full credit and more money, claiming she lied only for the extra time. Marta reluctantly agrees, having no other choice. Subsequently, Dominika travels to Vienna and opens a bank account, while Marta approaches Volontov with a plan to eliminate Dominika. When Dominika returns home that night, she discovers Marta's lifeless body in the bathtub. Sergei suddenly appears behind her, grabbing her neck to deliver a warning about the consequences of sharing secrets. He instructs her to call the police before vanishing. Meanwhile, Nate reports to his superiors about meeting Marble in Vienna. Marble provided files confirming Dominika's Sparrow status, which makes Nate believe she is even more recruitable. As Dominika is being questioned by the police, she remains tight-lipped. Upon leaving the station, she finds Nate waiting for her. They return to his place, where he admits knowing she is a Sparrow. In response, Dominika shares her story, emphasizing her concern for her mother's well-being. Nate proposes she become a double agent for him, offering protection. She says she needs to sleep on it, and takes his room for the night. Later, she joins Nate on the couch, and after confirming she can trust him, they make love. The following morning, Dominika agrees to Nate's proposal and resumes her usual routine. She writes a falsified report on Nate, claiming to have him under her control, and then waits for his signal, a phone call playing her favorite song. Dominika meets with Nate's superiors and undergoes a lie detector test to assess her trustworthiness. Once they accept her, she requests money, which they initially laugh off, but reconsider when she offers them Butcher. The next Friday, the team travels to London to meet Butcher. Dominika stays in a specially prepared CIA hotel room with surveillance cameras and a set of hidden discs intended for swapping with the real ones. While waiting for Butcher at the bar, Dominika is unexpectedly joined by Volontov, who claims he wants to help. She directs him to her room to avoid scaring Butcher away. Upon Butcher's arrival, Dominika explains that Marta sent her. Butcher is displeased by the change, but remains when Dominica threatens her with incriminating photos and mentions the money. The two women proceed to Dominica's room, where Volantov awaits. Boucher hands over the discs in exchange for cash, and Dominica pretends to verify their authenticity on her computer while actually swapping them with the CIA's copies. Dominica and Volantov leave, instructing Boucher to wait an hour before departing. However, Boucher, anxious and inebriated, leaves soon after. Realizing she is being followed, she discards the money in a trash can and crosses the street, only to be fatally struck by a truck. While Dominica and Volantov are in a car, he receives news of the incident and is ordered to return to Moscow immediately. He takes Dominica's passport, and upon their arrival in Moscow, Ivan confiscates the discs from Volantov before arresting him. Both are under suspicion of helping the Americans. Dominica denies any involvement, enduring various forms of torture, but never giving in. They even show her a video of Volantov being shot for lying. But when she lies again, nothing happens. Ivan takes over, and Dominica successfully manipulates him into protecting her. She's allowed to return home, but she feels so tainted that she refuses her mother's embrace. Following a challenging meeting with Kortnoy and Zakharov, Ivan returns to his apartment, where Dominica awaits. He informs her that her request to continue working on Nate has been granted, and she kisses him before departing. Dominica returns to Budapest and meets with Nate. They go to his apartment, where he questions her sudden release. Dominica persuades him to relocate her and her mother to America and provide more money. He agrees, and they make love. Later, Dominica is awakened by a noise and finds Sergei torturing Nate in the kitchen. She initially pretends to be on Sergei's side, even assisting him in hurting Nate to extract the mole's identity. However, when Sergei is momentarily distracted, she attacks him and helps Nate free himself. A brief struggle ensues, ending with Dominica stabbing Sergei. Awakening in the hospital the next day, Dominica steps outside for a smoke and is approached by Kortnoy, who reveals himself as Marble. Anticipating his imminent capture, he asks Dominica to expose him as a mole, so she can become a national hero and assume his role. She doesn't provide a clear answer but checks on Nate before leaving. Turning herself over to the police, she requests to see the Russian ambassador and, once in his presence, offers to reveal the mole's identity in exchange for her freedom. An exchange is arranged at an airport that night. Nate accompanies her to verify the mole's identity, and Dominica is warned not to attempt an escape or risk being shot. Nate is upset, believing Dominica has used him. But she has a surprise in store. As the Russians reveal the alleged mole, it's not Kortnoy, but her uncle Ivan, whom Dominica has framed with fabricated evidence since her first arrival in Budapest. Nate catches on and confirms Ivan's identity as the mole. After the exchange, Ivan is shot by a Russian sniper, and Dominica is taken away by helicopter. In Russia, Dominica is hailed as a heroine and allowed to live comfortably with her mother. The film concludes with her receiving a phone call, hearing only her favorite song playing on the line. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay on top of all the latest recaps and never miss a beat. Thank you for watching.